As you know, coming up on Tuesday night, the College Football Playoff Selection Committee will release its first edition of the rankings. We want to show you what the bracket would look like, but for the last time, this is based on the Associated Press poll. The 4 teams in the quarterfinals would all be conference champions. They're all leading their conferences now: Oregon, Georgia, Miami, and BYU. But you see their rankings are a little different, so that pushes down the seed line. The other team with an automatic bid is Boise State. Right now, they would get the 12. If they're ranked higher than that, they would be seated where they are ranked if they are the conference champions. As you look more on the DoorDash dashboard here, these other great matchups we have, you won't have this tie at 11 when the College Football Playoff Selection Committee ranks. But in the AP poll, Clemson and Iowa State are tied. But there are so many teams still in the mix. Indiana still in there. They're the second team out. The loser of that Clemson-Iowa State matchup, if they were to rank them that way, would be out. And a bevy of teams still with all kinds of hope, and that's the beauty of the 12-team field. So a lot of teams have hope. You look at all of these squads, Kirk, with better than a 50% chance of getting in, and even a lot with the opportunity to win conference champions. They're between 5 and 19%. Colorado, Travis Hunter is going to be here soon, and even a team like Washington State.
Yeah, I think what's exciting about this, and we keep talking about it, is when you have 12 teams, you're no longer just talking about this group of teams like we have in the past. We get down not just to this level, but this level. Next week, LSU plays Alabama. And basically, we were just talking kind of an elimination game for those teams. So someone will stay alive, someone will be out of the mix. I wanted to ask you, Rece, a question about these guys. Because their quarterback, John Mateer, and the way they're playing, they got a shot to finish 11-1. Obviously, big story. They didn't get into a conference. They're out there with Oregon State. How do they fit in when it comes to that bracket?
They can't get an automatic bid because they're still in the Pac-12. There are only 2 teams that doesn't qualify. They have to get in as an at-large, which means they have to be ranked in the top 12 or top 11 if the last conference champion is below that.
If they keep winning 11-1, they're going to have a real shot.
Yeah, only lost to Boise State.
Right.
I think Coach Saban has been talking about this literally since the idea of the 12-team playoff has come. If you look up into 50%, there's 4 Big Ten, 4 SEC teams. How is that going to add out in the end? How many losses can a team have? How many losses can a team not have? What's a big one, for this particular team? So if you start looking at these squads, okay, if you start looking at these teams here, now you're talking about big opportunity. And to your point, this team right here, they got to still get through Clemson. They got to get through SMU. But if Pitt is able to, this is a big stick contest, you and me right now. But if this team gets a win this weekend against them, they propel up into here. It's better for college ball as a whole.
Can I hit you with something real quick on that? If you were to have, and it's a possibility, if you were to wind up with Clemson, SMU, and Miami, all undefeated, they don't play each other. Wow. So somebody's getting left out of the ACC championship
Unreal.
game. Yeah.
And we were talking about
Navy
went down to Notre Dame. Don't forget about Army.
Yes.
It's a team to keep an eye on. I love their schedule. I love the way they play ball. Now, Iowa State playing against Texas Tech today. Iowa State is another team that I think has a great shot at getting to the college football playoff. SMU, I like Pitt. I want to see Pitt.
Yeah, Pitt. Yeah, great city of Pittsburgh.
Hey, this game right here has super dog implications. I'm just saying.
All right, Coach. All right. So, in honor of my good friend Desmond Howard,
yes, sir.
I have a question. Michigan has 3 losses.
Correct.
But they would have beat Ohio State.
Yeah.
And who else?
If
Oregon.
they win today,
That's right.
#1
so,
team, yeah.
What I think is going to happen in some of this, you're going to have 2- and 3-team losses that may be better teams than some of the teams that only have 1 loss. And I think that's going to be difficult. But I think the most important thing for all these teams is, can they keep the right psychological disposition down the road in terms of, how do I keep my team hungry, positive, confident, or do they get anxious, nervous, outcome-oriented, and walk around like they got indigestion?
You know who's
which one's it going to be?
You know, as an example of that, this example is that team right there.
Yeah.
Right.
They, with Marcel Reed inserted, the way they looked in that last second half against LSU, everyone wants to see them. They become can they handle all that success you're talking about.
Plays that
They
team.
play, these boys
That
play.
team plays that team.
Yeah.
I think this is the big deal, though, Coach. Whenever you talk about having the right mindset and staying on track, it's like dealing with this and dealing with this are two different things, but they're both very important.
That's exactly right.
That's the mindset that he's talking about up there.
yeah. No doubt.
I know they have.
Be careful.
Them.
Yes, sir.
There's
careful
somebody
tonight.
not on this board that they have tonight.
Right.
South Carolina.
That's
Better
a
be
dangerous
careful.
game.
But
Dangerous.
you kind of earn your momentum as the season goes along. You earn momentum in a game. You earn momentum as the season goes along. So which one of these teams can continue to earn momentum through the right psychological disposition? That's
Do
going to be
you, do you know who I have the most confidence in, at least in terms of mindset?
Who's that?
The Black Knights of the Hudson.
Exactly. McAfee Academy.
Yeah.
That's right.
And Army has Air Force today. And I'm going to tell you, this is great in Happy Valley. But if you've never been to the banks of the Hudson, to Mikey Stadium, where the ghost of Blanchard and Dawkins and Davis, what a great place to see a game. And Jeff Munkin, the head coach, and what he told his Black Knights of the Hudson as they get ready for Air Force.
That's some ties going on.
I think you guys are excited to play. What we got to do is execute, okay? Do your job and follow the plan. That's it, okay? Do your job. Everybody's got a job to do. Do that job. You know, do somebody else's job, just do your job. Win on third down, win on the goal line, run the ball and stop the run, create big plays, don't have negative yardage plays, no missed assignments and foolish penalties, which we control. That's the plan. That's how you win the game.
Boy, what a job Munkin has done. Bryson Daly, their quarterbacks.
Great coach.
Your son's going
My
down.
son Ty's going down there. How about first time? He's gonna. I told him perfect time of the year too to go.
We gave Old Crimson a little love, too, as they try to stay in there. 313 consecutive game day appearances for the Washington State flag. And on the banks of the Red Cedar, Indiana is trying to become the first Hoosier team ever to go 9-0. Now, what you forgot about is that this game between these two, that's a trophy game. That's the old brass spittoon. Indiana went 8-0 in 1967, couldn't get to 9-0. This could be the best team. Pete's going to update us in a little bit on Curtis Schwartz. We expect him to play. He's been out there for a couple of days. You've got Wisconsin and Iowa. They, too, playing for the Heartland Trophy. A great running game in Iowa. Wisconsin's been playing a lot better. Herbstreit's been agonizing over that pick for a while. Then you got USC and Washington, longtime foes in the Pac 8, 10, and 12, now meeting in the Big Ten for the first time as conference members. And then touched on this a bit, Oregon and Michigan. Oregon coming to the Big House. Only one more trip east in a couple of weeks for Oregon. They go to Wisconsin. They got a rivalry game against Washington at home, and then potentially the Big Ten championship. So the Ducks have been able to navigate some of this long travel over the course of the season. And Kirk, as you look at this now, Oregon seems to have managed the schedule. They've won the big game, and they're growing and getting better and sort of establishing themselves as the number one team in the country.
And I think it's about handling it. You know, last year they had a really good team. Came up a little bit short with Bo Nix. They couldn't get over that Washington hump. Twice Washington ended up beating them. Michigan, don't sleep on Michigan. Anytime a team has won 25 at 26 at home, only losses to Texas, you know, there's a sense of pride there, even with Will Johnson down. Don't just assume they walk into the Big House and win that game. I think they probably will, but I don't think it's a slam dunk. The other thing to think about, Michigan's kind of found some answers with the quarterback situation that's been struggling.
Yes.
You know, having Davis Warren kind of manage the game, and then Alex Orji comes in to be that dual threat, more of a running style. I mean, it's given them an identity anyway. I mean, Oregon wins, and I think they run the table, but today could be a little bit of a challenge for them.
Yeah, you know, I picked Oregon not only to win the Big Ten, but to win the national championship. And some people up in Ann Arbor, they took offense to that. So today is the day you can do something about that. I do think that going back to Davis Warren has really sparked their offense. You know, early in the game, he seemed really hesitant, but he got kind of comfortable. But I just think that Oregon, the Ducks, man, they got so much firepower. If Michigan isn't able to slow the game down, Coach, and then create some turnovers to give their offense extra possessions, then I think it's going to be a tough battle for the Wolverines.
I think Oregon has been the most consistent team so far.
Yeah.
I mean, they're the only team that is in top 15 and in offense and defense.
Yeah.
And I think they have the right combination of people Dylan Gabriel,
Yep.
great receivers, skill guys that can make explosive plays.
Yeah.
I think and they have been the most consistent team, so that means they got the right mindset. And if they can continue to have that, I think they're going to be hard to beat.
Yeah, to your point about the right mindset, it feels like Coach Lanning, who obviously went to the Nick Saban College Coaching University down there in Alabama, they beat the hell out of Ohio State, okay? They win against Ohio State in a big one. They travel all the way to Purdue the next week. Could be a let-up game like we've seen a lot of teams have. They pound Purdue, shut them out. They become the #1 team in the country. They play Illinois. They pound them. Feels like mentally they're made of the right stuff. Dylan Gabriel obviously leading them. But if Oregon over there and on the West Coast was just to waltz right into the Big Ten and win the Big Ten in year one, there'd be a lot of people in a lot of towns across the Midwest that would be bummed out about it. Think about Indiana. They're still in it. Ohio State still very much in it. Penn State, obviously very much still in it. And there's, it feels like the Big Ten's still wide open. How many seats will they get in the college football playoff? I think that's a big combo.
I think you want to have an improving team that can play their best football in November. I think that's the most important thing. How do you finish? That's going to be the most important thing for all the teams that you mentioned.
They see Indiana up there. Any trouble for Indiana today? We were there last week. They were worried about this trip. Not worried in a way like they're scared of them, but realize you've got to be focused to go into East Lansing. Any problem?
They're lighting up their SIGs. They know. Signetti's got the boys ready.
Remember, Rourke's thumb, it's going to be exciting to see how much he's improved. Is it just no issue? They can rely on Ellison in the run game.
They've been saying every day he's been back with the thumb, getting better and better.
Yeah.
Sorry, Coach.
But I think Michigan State is the worst team scoring in the red zone of anybody in the country. If they fix that, they could be dangerous. You never know.
Today may be the day.
There's some weird stuff
not
going
today,
on
not
in the
today.
Big Ten today. Illinois is still ranked, but they're home underdog against Minnesota, and you've got another one on the board, Heartland Trophy.
Yeah, teams that are not in the playoff discussion. Wisconsin's 14th in the country or in the league in rush yards given up. Iowa, Caleb Johnson, second in the country, averaging 7 yards carry. I'm going to take Iowa. Night game, Kinnick.
That's all you need to say, right?
Night game.
Night game.
Night games.
Night game.
Night
Night
games
game.
are
They got
fun.
a night game in Iowa.
I like the backup.
Fun.
Yeah, they're fun.
Yeah, night game in Iowa. Imagine that.
They would prefer to. I think they would prefer a little bit of a later start.
We used to love calling this game at night.